Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's Monday review time, looking back at Friday evening's 3-0 home defeat to the high-flying Lincoln City live on the Sky Sports cameras. Quickly, thank you to everyone who messaged me, tweeted me, saying well done on the very brief appearance on the Sky Sports build-up. It was much appreciated. Sorry I didn't reply to everyone. There was just so many, but I do appreciate you all touching base, so to speak. But on to Lincoln. The game unfortunately ended in a 3-0 defeat, as I've already mentioned. I would have happily traded my brief appearance on Sky Sports for a positive result, but it was not to be. Lincoln very good, deserved to win the game. That's probably the bottom line. 99% of Gills fans that I've seen post on Facebook and Twitter have said that as well, and we'll pick the bones out of the game as we go forward. The penalty helps them massively. I think we've all said that, apart from Lincoln fans. If we get back to 1-1, we never know. It could be a different game, but it's all if, buts and maybes, and we didn't take them half chances that came our way. And Lincoln, in the end, ran out very comfortable winners if you look at the scoreline, but I don't think that tells the entire picture. But anyway, they were clinical. They're technically superb. They've probably got the best squad in the league at the moment, and they're certainly playing the best football in the league at the moment. But before I talk for a little bit more, I am going to leave you in the capable hands of Stocky.
Good evening, Gills fans. Just going to take a few minutes to look back on Friday night's defeat live on Sky to Lincoln, where unfortunately the away side went with all 3 points and finished the night at the top of the league, with our TV curse carrying on. I don't think a 3-0 scoreline was a true justification of the game. I think Gills actually played well, and I'd like to hope that any neutral that watched the game would see that as well. First half, the only chance of note that Lincoln had unfortunately resulted in a goal. A lot of blame on social media goes down to Ryan Jackson. I don't necessarily agree with that just because it's come from his side. I think unfortunately Jackson is being made of a bit of a scapegoat. I'm not saying that he's having a great season defensively, because I think that is a weakness, and I think away teams or opposition teams probably do target that, in all honesty. However, we obviously know what he brings us going forward with his long throws, and he links up well with Jordan Graham in attacking from down the right. But back to the Lincoln first goal anyway, like I said, I don't think Jackson actually does anything wrong. Unfortunately, he's left with 2 men. He's had to go onto one, leaving space for the other. If he doesn't go to that man, then he turns and gets a shot away himself. So unfortunately, I think he's in a no-win situation. There's a good bit of skill from Lincoln on their left. The ball comes into the box. You could say that we should have defended it better, but it was a good finish from them to put them 1-0 up, and it was against the run of play, because the first 10 minutes we'd been camped in their half. And after the goal, that carried on. You could argue that we didn't really have a proper shot or a proper chance of note. There's more half chances, crosses into the box, long throws into the box, which Oliver got on the end of, but we didn't really test their keeper. And the one time that we did look to kind of split the defence with the ball into Jordan Graham, Joe Walsh made a fantastic block to get in the way of it, because you could argue that the form that Graham's in and the technique and ability he's got, he would have equalised for the Gills there. Second half started off a bit slow, with the injuries that we had Ollie Lee and Ogilvie both down within a matter of minutes, for 3 to 4 minutes. And then the big contentious decision, which in my opinion wasn't the reason why we lost the game, however, killed it from a Gills point of view, and that was the fast call decision from the referee, who seemed to be enjoying his night in the limelight, and somehow gave Lincoln a penalty, with Jackson again being branded the guilty party. However, again, I don't think he's done a lot wrong. There's barely any contact, and looking at the replays back, I can't really see much contact myself. It's one of them that's a modern day penalty, modern day soft penalty, where some people argue if there's contact they should go down, but for me it's a complete joke of a decision and totally killed it from a Gills point of view. After that, they quickly go and get the third, and again, like their first, it was a well-worked goal. The ball falls loose in the middle of the park, but the way that they attacked at speed, just one touch passing, cross low cross into the back post and a good finish. I think it was by Tom Hopper that got the third goal. On first viewing, I did think it was offside, but looking at the replay back immediately after, Ogilvie was just playing him on. But yeah, like I said, after the second goal, it kind of killed all momentum from Gills. The only chance of note that we did have after that was Kyle Dempsey broke free in the area, got a good shot away, which the keeper palmed to the right, and then from the following cross, Akinde's hit the underside of the bar. But although we didn't really test the keeper territorially, we was mainly in Lincoln's half, and they didn't offer too much in all honesty, but the difference at this level is teams like Lincoln, they're up there for a reason. The stat going into the game was they've got the best attack and the best defence, and I think that stat probably typified their Friday night. Although they didn't have many attacks, the ones that they did, they ended up with 2 goals as a result of good play and obviously the penalty as well. And they defended excellently. Like I said, their keeper's only made 1 save. Verdane Oliver's been mainly restricted to headers, which were quite comfortable for the keeper. But I think we can take the positives from it. I don't think it was a bad performance. Like I said, the second one completely kills us. I wouldn't say that, if that wasn't given, we would have come back and equalised. But obviously the second going in kills it off for me. Lincoln looked pretty comfortable defensively. I think they did handle Oliver well, in all honesty, and I think they deservedly did get the 3 points. However, not by the 3-0 scoreline that they actually ended up with. So to summarise, not a bad performance. Lincoln took their chances. Referee loved his night in the limelight. Couldn't wait to get yellow cards out on some of our players, for Ogilvie and Akinde especially, and we move on to Charlton away, and hopefully we'll be able to go to the Valley and nick the 3 points up the Gills.
Really interesting stuff as always from Stocky, and it's always good to hear his voice. Haven't seen him properly now for too long. He popped round to my house over the weekend to drop off a book for me to read, but apart from that, fleeting appearances unfortunately, such as life at the moment. But anyway, back to the game. 3-0 to Lincoln, as he said as well, and I've said already, Lincoln deserved to win. 3-0 flattered them. I think for large spells we had them on the back foot. We had the majority of the possession. Not that means too much, because I've had this discussion with other people. But territorially, we were good. But yeah, they were more clinical, as we've already said. And their big chance that comes along in the first half is a good goal from their point of view. I'm sure the Lincoln fans are waxing lyrical. It's a little interchange down the left-hand side, down our right-back area. Cracking back heel from George Grant into the path of Morgan Rogers, I think it was. He squares it. Conor Ogilvie does brilliantly to stop the initial shot. And Conor McGrandles was on hand to slap it into the top corner from about 12 yards, unfortunately. Stocky then goes on to talk about Ryan Jackson and how he's to blame for the first goal. He says, no, I absolutely, categorically, 100% wholeheartedly agree. Ryan Jackson got left 2-on-1. There's a case for Jordan Graham not doing enough defensively. But I think, as Steve Evans mentioned, Callum Slattery, unfortunately, doesn't track his runner. There's a 1-2. You see Rogers go again, and Slattery stands still, doesn't move, and by the time he realises it's too late, Rogers is driving into the danger zone and whips a ball across our 6-yard line. Jack Tucker isn't great in the goal as well for me. He moves into no man's land in the middle of the 6-yard box, right in front of Jack Bonham. He can't affect the game there. He can't affect the ball. Conor Ogilvie, in turn, then has to tuck in, makes that really good block. And then, of course, they've got an overload on the far post, which is McGrandles, and he scores. So, not the best goal defensively from us, but as Steve Evans said, Callum Slattery will learn. Jack Tucker's still a kid as well, and it's one of them. But Ryan Jackson certainly not to blame for the first goal for me. And we'll come back onto him in a minute. Stocky also spoke about the Ollie Lee and Conor Ogilvie injuries at the start of the second half that somewhat wrecked the momentum that we were trying to build up. Totally agree with that as well. But unfortunately, Ollie Lee for me just wasn't very good. He just had one of them nights where things didn't come off. I think he flashed the header wide first half, got too much on it, and it went in the Brian Moore stand behind the goal. But every time he threatened to get the ball in dangerous areas, he had it pinched off him, or he had a slightly poor touch. And then he took a whack on the nose to compound his poor evening. He was taken off for John Akinde after about an hour or so. I think it was after the third goal. So one of them nights for Ollie Lee, unfortunately, but he'll have plenty of good days for us. Conor Ogilvie, had his head split open. I've seen an article on my Facebook page today from a Lincoln fan supporters club, which is fine. I like to get fans of other clubs on there, but they've taken the time to write a whole article about things that we were perceived to have done wrong and the referee's not pulled up, and then mentions that we got a yellow card. So the referee has acted on that. They're adamant that we did all this and that wrong, but the penalty's still the right decision. So don't agree with that. And for me, you've won the game comfortably. You're top of the league. We've said you deserved it. Just go and write about that. Enjoy yourselves. Write about Morgan Rogers. Write about George Grant. Write about how good Liam Bridcut was. You deserve to be top of the league. You're playing the best football. Don't waste your days re-watching a whole game so you can post a couple of nitpicking articles about 3 or 4 fouls that supposedly the referee missed. The penalty is the big one in the second half, and Stocky talks about that. So it brings us seamlessly onto that. It's not a penalty. It's not a penalty in a million years. People are sitting and go, oh, if it was the other way around, you'd be screaming for it. Maybe in the heat of the moment, but if you watch football, if you take away the Gillingham bias and the Lincoln bias, that's never a penalty on any football pitch. If it is, we'll be giving away 6, 7, 8 penalties every game. It'd be ridiculous. For me, the fall's unnatural. Firstly, there's a block off on Ryan Jackson as he tries to approach Brennan Johnson, but that gets missed by the referee, who can still make his decision from the same 4 yards away that he makes the penalty call, but he misses that mysteriously. Jackson grabs at him slightly with his arm. There's very, very minimal contact. Johnson then takes another step forward and then falls head first to the turf. Now, if you're having your shirt pulled, you don't fall head first to the turf. For me, it seems to be defying gravity a little bit in the laws of physics, in my opinion. I mean, I'm no scientist, but it just looks very unnatural. The sheepish look on Brennan Johnson's face in the footage after the award of the penalty is something of a giveaway for me. But, you know, it's done now. We move on. Lincoln won the game fair and square. That wasn't the reason we lost. It had a big say in it because obviously it's the pivotal goal at 2-0. If we go and get that second goal, it could have been a different finale, but it's not to be. And like I've already mentioned, all ifs, buts and maybes. Third goal again is decent if you're a Lincoln fan. The ball over the top into our left back area. I think Connor Ogilvie had just come back on after having his head bandaged up. That was a foul that was missed in this Lincoln City fan article. So maybe he was a little bit dazed. I don't know. I'd imagine he wasn't because the physios and the doctors were about to do concussion tests before he was allowed back on. But maybe he was just getting his bearings again. But unfortunately, Morgan Rogers gets him behind. It's a brilliant first touch out of the sky. I can't say anything different. If that's on Sky Sports, then it's talked about for hours and hours. The first touch from Morgan Rogers, who's superb throughout the game, is absolutely brilliant. Brings it under control in an instant, cuts inside Ogilvie. Jack Tucker comes out, unfortunately turns his back, if we're nitpicking. Toe poke effort with his right foot from Rogers. Saved by Jack Bonham. Tom Hopper taps it in, nods it in. At first glance, like Stocky said, it looks like it's offside, but the replay's clear. Connor Ogilvie, unfortunately, has dropped too deep, and Hopper's a good yard onside, as was George Grant when he scored the 4th. But that had no bearing on the result. It was already 3-0. So this is my point about referees' decisions. You can nitpick about this foul should have been given, and this fella should have got this card and this card and not this card or that card. But the big decision that ultimately swings the game hugely in Lincoln's favour is the penalty, and it's the wrong call. But as I say, it's done, and Lincoln were very good aside from that. Best defence and best attack in the division, Stocky has touched on, and that's quite correct. I think they've scored the most. They've conceded 1 goal on the road in their last 7 fixtures. It's a phenomenal record. So I think there'll be strikers plenty worse and plenty better than John Akindi and Verdane Oliver will struggle against that back line this season. They're well drilled by Michael Appleton. They all know their roles. They then get it forward into their midfield players who can get it down and pass and spray it around. And they have pace in the likes of Johnson and Rogers, who are very good technically. Tom Hopper leads the line really well. They're just a very, very good League One side, and I'll be very surprised if they don't go up automatically. But for Gills, I think it was a good performance. I have to agree with Stocky again. It's one of them. We get the second goal in the game, it could be different. We don't, unfortunately. Then their third comes really quickly, and then we're chasing the game. But for me, the big positive was similarly to the first game we played against Sunderland when they dropped into the third tier, when we lost 4-1 in August 2018. We still didn't let our edge drop. We were still trying to play. We were still trying to get on the ball. People weren't shying away. We've still created chances. The best one at 3-0 is the Carl Dempsey drive with the outside of his right foot after he's released by Tommy O'Connor. Keeper makes a decent save, probably his best save of the evening. It's comfortable. You'd be disappointed as a Lincoln fan if it goes in, I'd imagine. And then Tom O'Connor stands up a really good ball for John Akindi, but unfortunately his header bounces off the bar and out. There was a small call for a penalty late on a Kindy, but I think it would have been soft, as were the ones that were sort of appealed for on Graham and Oliver in the first half. None of them are penalties for me. The Johnson one's not a penalty. There should have been no penalties in the game, in my opinion. Yeah, we have to talk about the ref quickly. I think Stocky summed it up well. I think he was just enjoying his night on national TV, unfortunately, and wanted to be centre of attention. He's made too many fussy decisions, and he's got the big ones wrong, unfortunately. So it is what it is. We can't change it. We move on to next week. Right, that is enough from me. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Cheers to Stocky for making another appearance. It's great to hear his dulcet tones and get his opinion. No midweek game this week, so I'll be back Thursday with a look back at the week that was, which I'm sure will be pretty quiet now that the transfer window is shut. Then we're looking ahead to a trip to the Valley. Remember to check out Fan Hub and their new app. It is very close. I think it's under 2 weeks away now. Still only 20 away now from 1,500 subscribers on the channel. So if you can go and check that out and drop us a sub, it'd be greatly appreciated. Hope you've had a good weekend in the snow. If you've got to work today, well done. If you've worked from home instead, then fair play. Until next time, up the Gills.